So with that being said, allow me to handle the introductions here. For those of you joining us, my name is Chris Nally. I'm the training and development partner here at CallTrackingMetrics. Joining me today to show you guys all about Chatbot AI, we have Jason Smith, the supervisor of sales engineering, and our co-founder, CEO, Mr. Todd Fisher himself. Gentlemen, thank you. We are very excited to have you here today.
Likewise. This is very exciting.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, everybody.
So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and hand this off to Jason to get us started.
Thanks, Chris. So I figured we would start with the CallTrackingMetrics mission statement, and that is working together to drive stronger connections for businesses and the customers that they serve. So it's hard to talk to customers about this mission statement today and not have generative AI and large language models come up. There isn't anything that's in the software industry today that's been more disruptive, more transformative than AI this year, or probably in the last decade. You can't get away from it. It's everywhere. Every SaaS product has some kind of AI offering, and it's in our software to stay. Just in our short timeline, in our little corner of the software world, if you look at what we've done with AI solutions, it's been a pretty formative shift just since March of this year. So I thought we'd go through a timeline here real quick and just talk about some of the major enhancements that we've been making with CallTrackingMetrics using AI. But back in March, when the GPT APIs were first made available, we launched Ask AI, where we would allow you to take your transcriptions of calls and activities in CallTrackingMetrics and send those to ChatGPT with a prompt that included anything that you might want to gather from that transcription, anything that you might instruct somebody reviewing your calls to listen for in a phone call. We can now have Ask AI gather those pieces of information and push them to fields in your account that you can use to push notifications out or map to your CRM. In April, we added AI text messaging. This essentially allowed you to build an AI text bot where you could define a system prompt, put a call to action for your customers to text you at a number, and OpenAI ChatGPT would respond based on the instructions that you provided. We had some really cool results with this, and we can tell some really cool stories about the use cases. We also hosted our first Ask AI webinar announcing these features. Seems like forever ago. In May, we introduced AI to help write Lambda functions. A lesser known feature in CallTrackingMetrics, but we give you the ability to write your own function, run your own functions as a trigger, or route a call through that function. Using the Ask AI feature in the Lambdas helps you write those Lambda functions so you could, in very plain English, tell CTM that you wanted to write a function that's going to take one field, parse it out into two values, and put it into two different fields. And a million other solutions or problems that we can solve using Lambdas. In this Ask AI, before we had that implemented, I had 2 or 3 working examples of Lambdas that I could demo. Now I have about 40, and I've got a bunch on GitHub if you're interested in seeing those examples. We flashed to June, and we added GPT 3.5 Turbo with a 16,000 token limit. Prior to this, we had been restricted to a 4,000 token limit, so we had to be nimble and find solutions to get around how we were going to address longer phone calls, longer transcriptions that went over OpenAI's initial token limits. With the 16,000 token limit, we have the ability to send longer phone calls. We also introduced an option in CallTrackingMetrics that would automatically switch between the 4,000 token limit and the 16,000 token limit dynamically based on the length of your calls, how many tokens. In August, we made some pretty impactful speech-to-text backend updates. With our partner DeepGram, we implemented their latest and greatest model, Nova 2, for taking our speech, our call recordings, and formatting them into the text, the transcriptions that we use to feed all of the other AI functions. We saw a great improvement in the transcriptions immediately after deploying this, and as they touted, a 30% reduction in the word error rate in those transcriptions. Along with those changes, we also made summaries available for all customers using transcriptions. So we took those enhanced transcriptions and the enhanced features from DeepGram, and we now provide a summary for everybody who has transcriptions turned on. You'll see a message column in your activity log, and you're automatically getting an AI-generated summary that can be included in your notifications for activities and can be mapped to your CRMs. And we weren't done yet. So just last month in October, we added support for Anthropic's Claude Instant model. This is a nice redundancy option for OpenAI's capabilities in the CallTrackingMetrics triggers. You can switch over to the Anthropic model. It also supports a much larger context limit than previous models of ChatGPT at 100,000 tokens. So we've been busy. As Sam Altman said at the OpenAI Developer Conference a couple of weeks ago, further innovations that are in development will soon make today's achievements look quaint. That resonated with me, and it doesn't seem far-fetched for CTM or the industry at large based on what we've seen already this year. So in that spirit of major innovations, we're excited to be able to share our latest achievement in the ChatAI powered by ChatGPT.
Excellent.
I'll hand it back over to Chris.
Yes, thank you so much, Jason. So once again, folks, it's awesome to see where we started, where we currently are, and where we're going to be going. And Todd will talk a little bit about that later. The first thing we're going to do today, guys, is we're going to run through a fairly quick run through of some of the steps in the setup of the ChatAI bot. Then we're going to actually move to a live presentation with Jason, who's going to show you guys a little bit about it. And we'll obviously talk a little bit more about that. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and walk through some of the setup here. First thing first, though, what is ChatAI? So ChatAI is a chat function using AI to automatically answer incoming chats using intelligent responses drawn directly from your knowledge base and documentation, which is an amazing feature if you think about it. You can now build a chatbot that will respond to customers using your documentation. It's a powerful tool. So now we'll talk about the setup. So ChatAI allows you to upload your own document sources, enabling you to customize your chatbot's responses according to your specific needs. You can choose to either use Postman, a CSV document, or have it crawl your site. And as I mentioned, folks, Jason will actually show us a live demonstration of what this looks like on the back end. Next, we have our functions. The functions basically allow ChatAI to execute actions to modify the activity record or pull additional insights. You can set these up. Currently, you can add two different actions, which are either going to be to update the contact information or end the chat. From there, we move on to, oh, go ahead.
Don't forget the Zendesk source too. So if you have your help desk library, your knowledge base articles hosted on Zendesk, you can link those up and we'll index those and reference those with your chatbot as well.
Absolutely, and thank you for the reminder. From there, we move on to the model. This is where we are choosing the creativity of how this chatbot is going to respond to your customers. Jason, do you want to put a little preference, or Todd, about how you think this really affects the results that they get by adjusting the creativity?
Yeah, so there's a similar setting in ChatGPT if you've played around in their playground to change the temperature. And so the higher the temperature, the more creative, the more wordy, kind of blusterous the responses are going to be. And the lower the setting, the more terse, the more direct the responses are going to be with less creativity.
Excellent. Thank you for that, sir. From there, we move on to the message processing rules, which basically allow you to create actions based on conditions, much like you see in many of our other functions and features, like triggers and smart routers and the like. Outside of some of those standard actions, one of the really unique things that we have here is you can actually set up a document source to be referenced based on some of the wordings from the customer. Jason, do you want to expand on this just a little bit?
Yeah, so this is really powerful to direct kind of where the chats go and what the chat is going to do with the live chat in progress. So some of the cool use cases that we've seen here in the message processing rules are one of the examples I'll show is if you say go away, or if you say something that matches regular expression, just the phrase go away, then I can have a very direct response. I'm sorry if I offended you. Hey, come back when you're in a better mood, or something like that. And then also in this workflow, I can tell it to then end the chat and add a tag to that chat activity. So then I can quickly run a report, run a filter, and all the people that told my chatbot they didn't want to talk to it.
Excellent. And just
Another important option there, I'm sorry, is the ability to transfer a live chat. So you can also say if the user message contains these specific things or matches this regular expression, I want to speak to an agent, I'd like to talk to a representative, those kinds of things. This is where you can instruct the chat AI to hand this off to a queue of live agents that are in CallTrackingMetrics so they can take over the chat from the bot.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I appreciate you bringing that up because that is a huge function. And I think something that customers can get a lot of value out of. Just as a note to those, I do see some questions coming in. Just know we are going to tackle those at the end, so I'm not ignoring you. Please don't think I am. We are going to get to them. All right. Next, we move on to the system message and prompt. And obviously, this is where we're defining who our chatbot is. But Jason, please, if you could go into a little bit more depth on the system prompt and what kind of things should customers be looking to add here that's going to make it powerful? What kind of things should they use for reference points? All of that.
Yeah, so this is really where you're defining your personal voice, your brand voice to the chat AI bot. All of the things, and I find that this is where the real iteration happens after we, provide some basic instruction and we start to see some responses and testing and stuff. This is where you can come and make a direct impact. Hey, don't ever reply this way. If you're presented with this type of question, always reply this way. And we can support a pretty long list of instructions here to be able to coach and guide this chatbot.
Absolutely. And there are a ton of resources out there now. Just as Jason had mentioned at the top of the webinar, AI is becoming so prevalent that it's literally giving way to new jobs, right? Like prompt engineers is becoming a thing. So there's a ton of resources out there in terms of really crafting your system prompt and the like. So thank you for that information, Jason.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting the latest version of ChatGPT-4 is kind of self-aware. It's got context up to April of this year, so you can actually use that to say, hey, here's the big blurb of instructions that I want to train a bot on, and give me a system prompt that ChatGPT can understand, and it'll do a pretty good job.
Which you have to appreciate, being able to have ChatGPT create its own system prompt.
Love it.
So, no irony lost there. So next, right past our system prompt, we have the bias words. So the bias words are giving you the ability to add specific words that's going to have the chat either lean into it based on a positive bias or tend to pivot away of the topic based on negative. And Jason, I'm sure you can expand a little bit on that.
Yeah, so some of the application we've seen is, if someone brings up your competitors in a chatbot, you might not want, a very creative chatbot droning on about your competitors. You might want it to steer away back to your product, or if there's certain features and things that you want the chatbot to focus on, putting those products in here, it'll be a little bit louder. It'll tend to, end conversations. Hey, did you think about adding a smart dialer and things like that if we had a positive bias for that?
Excellent. Thank you, sir, for that. All right. So with that, at this point, now that we've kind of given you a quick rundown of the setup, I'm actually going to hand this off to Jason, who can actually go ahead and give us a demonstration of an existing setup that he's created.
Awesome. I will grab the screen from you here. Cool. So if we went through the process that Chris just outlined under ChatAI, we've now got ChatAI bots, and we can edit these. So we'll walk through the settings of this one that I'm going to demonstrate for us. So I've added document sources of our Postman API documentation. I've added the rate table on the website that separates all the features by plan and some of the links on that page. I've enabled both of the functions that we currently support, and that my chatbot can update contact information, and that it's okay for the chatbot to end the chat when it's instructed to. I've set my creativity pretty low on the scale here. And then I've built a couple message processing rules. If the user message contains talk to a human, or if the user message contains speak with a human, my transfer option is to send this to a sales queue where live agents would live. And then I've also got a user message matches regular expression, go away. It's going to reply with a message. Sorry, I've offended you. It's going to end the chat, and it's going to tag the call or activity bugger off. And the regular expression is important here because this prevents it from saying, if the user says, I want to go away on a vacation, it's not going to give its sad, sorry, I offended you message, only if it's just the message go away. And then in my system prompt here, I've got what Chris had in the slide, more information about our plans and how I want the support AI, my virtual sales agent, to behave, some of the responses, and where to direct it for further information if it gets stuck, our website, our phone number, our email address. I didn't add any bias words in this use case. But another important step here is I did connect some chat widgets. So in CallTrackingMetrics, you'll have your chat widgets that you're embedding on your website. And in the chat widget, under the routing, is where we want to send this to our chat bot. So I've got a chat flow here with no particular rules, but my default route says I want to send this to the ChatAI routing object. And I pick my CTM virtual sales bot. So now, once I've got all this set up, you do have a test the chat option here that'll open up a test interface, and you can do some testing, ask some questions without having to have this embedded on your website. But for today, we want to show this on our landing page. So here's a CallTrackingMetrics unbounce page that I've built. And we can see down here in the bottom, got the CTM chat widget. If I click here, I'm asking for a name. And I can chat with my sales bot. So my virtual sales bot has entered the chat, and I can ask, what is the subscription cost? Oh, typing. So we see it referenced for my system prompt. It's got my $329 per month, and a nice little response. This plan is designed for businesses that require a comprehensive set of features. And so it's also connected to our Postman API documentation, so I can ask it, do you have an API endpoint to get activity details? So you can see here, it's pulling from the Postman documentation, giving us some examples and some advice on how to structure that request with the API. It also links to the source, the document source. where it got that information from. And then as an example of the workflow rules now, I will tell my poor chatbot to go away. See my instructed message. It's ended the chat activity with me. And if we go over to our activity log, you can see this activity that's just ended. It's tagged my call with bugger off as instructed. That's it.
That's
That
great,
is
Jason.
the CTM chatbot in action.
Jason, that's very mean to your chatbot. He's just trying to do his job.
I know.
So we do
Sorry,
want
I feel
to,
bad.
Tom, if possible, I would love to get your 2 cents in as far as where we are with this. What kind of things you think we've got coming that you might want to share, anything like that.
Yeah, so I guess I'll take it from here. Yeah, so that was super fun to watch. You guys did a great job there, and this has been a project that we've been working on since probably early April. We've had ChatAI live for CTM users probably since mid-September, maybe, or no, midsummer, sometime in the middle of summer. Time is this weird thing. It just kind of steadily marches forward. It's hard to keep track of. I see a lot of questions that are really interesting to me in the chat here. And I feel like some of these are just worth just sort of rattling off answers to, because somebody asks, like, did we hard code answers? No, everything is AI generated. That's what's so awesome about this, is that we take the best of the best OpenAI large language models, right, that are out there, and we allow you to interface it with your own knowledge base. So if you talk to CTM's chatbot, you are talking to GPT 4.5 essentially, and it has the ability to query our Zendesk help articles. One of the coolest things that it's going to be able to do very soon is, with user authorization, query your CTM account and answer questions about, status of a number, port, why a call didn't route, right? And be able to look at all the interesting things that are in your account that could explain why something happened, which is the same thing a human would do. And that's what's really very cool about this in my mind. I do see somebody who asked like a healthcare question. Yeah. So we have a BA with OpenAI, so it's secure, it's safe, it's compliant. The main thing there is just don't give the bot documentation about your patients. Otherwise, it has access to that and it might share that with the wrong person. So that's really sort of how you control what information you give the bot with respect to it responding to people. The chatbot widget will not slow down your website. We've been web developers here for 20 plus years, and we understand how to make websites fast. The main thing when people are doing analysis of a website, just to get really into the weeds here, is if the JavaScript tag has the word async on it, that did not impact your website, despite what Google might say with its page speed tools, because it's asynchronous. The browser will automatically defer loading the content until it does all the other stuff that's more important. I think it's really important thing to keep in mind. Did we miss how to add the chatbot to the website, specifically a WordPress website? Yeah, so the chatbot itself is embedded through our chat widget. So we've long since had a chat widget that you can embed in your website. It's a tag you add. So in WordPress, it's really easy. You just add it to your layout. Jason's bringing the screen up now so he can show you. It's part of our chat widgets. ChatAI will always do its best to provide an answer. So ChatAI is very much like a human, where they will try their best to provide you with an answer. I think industry-wide, I heard this recently, everyone thinks that the biggest probably issue with the large language models that are available to us today is that they are sometimes too confident in their answers, right? we as humans have been trained over time to sort of recognize when we maybe don't have the best answer, and we can articulate that pretty well to other humans. But large language models still kind of are not great at saying, well, I'm not quite sure I understand, right? They're getting better. And I think that what's really sort of amazing about this time period is that we are seeing like such a fast pace of evolution of this stuff. When 3.5 Turbo came out and Jason and I were experimenting back in March with it, we were like, wow, this thing can answer some basic questions, yes or no, right? And we were like, well, it kind of can like pick from a list pretty well, and it can even summarize things pretty good. And then we were like, whoa, and like it was April or May, GPT-4.
March even. Oh yeah,
March,
with
when
GPT-4.
4 came out, right? And we were like, wow, this thing is like too smart, right? It was answering really complicated things. And like we had a conversation like where somebody was quoted like maybe 4 or 5 different prices before they finally agreed upon the actual price and type of product. And 4.0 like nailed it every time. Never had failed, but it was very slow and very expensive. With the most recent iteration, it's in preview right now, so but it's crazy fast and it's less expensive. So we're going to be able to do even more here pretty soon. So yeah, you guys are asking questions, a lot of questions here. Are there any protections in place from someone trying to take advantage of a never-ending AI chat conversation, assuming there's a cost per word or length of conversation? That's a damn good question, and yes. So we have been putting in place rate limits. We have been putting in place telemetry to track sort of abuse. So far, so good. But actually, one of the things you could show, Jason, is in the, I don't know if we have a good demo of it right now, but in the activity reports, we have the number of chat responses now. So you can look at chats by day and see the number of chat messages by day in the activity in the not agent activity, but the under reports, the activity reports. I believe it's like chat messages, view by, and then I think it's like messages. Yeah, chat user messages and chat agent messages. So that's user replies. So this is people, humans who have put input into your chat. Then you can also choose agent replies, Jason, and that would be the bot generated responses. So time series, we can see, per chat. So on average, AI is generating 3 to 4 messages per chat, but there's a long tail there where some of them are 11 per chat. And then, you can go in and you can see what it was, see what they chatted about. Will we ever have a unified centralized log where we can see all of the various channels of communications with the contact? Yes, there is work on this. Stay tuned. Probably early next year, we'll have something like that.
And someone asked about integrating the document sources with Gmail because it'll have nearly every question imaginable had been answered in the email history. I think there's some risk to that, just exposing it to your email. But what we could do is we have the CSV source. So, the important emails, maybe extract those into, a couple columns on a CSV file.
Hey, Jason.
But I saw Freshdesk came up too, and we, I think I had mentioned, but I don't think it got back to the customer, is that the way we approach this is if a customer is requesting, something new like that, then yes, it's something we can do. We do Zendesk today because we use Zendesk. But somebody had asked if we'll ever do Freshdesk, and the answer is yes, of course.
Todd, Jason, can't thank you guys enough for coming in and sharing your expertise with this and talking to our customers about this. Folks, once again, this is being recorded, so you'll get a copy of it if you have any other questions. Otherwise, please reach out to us. Let us know what we can do to help you guys as you get through this. And a quick thank you once again to everyone for coming, and we hope you guys get started with this, all right?